Bathroom breaks. Scene. A group of teachers and administrators of a school are attending a meeting regarding a complaint, which is not the first, from a female student who felt mistreated by a male teacher. The student remained anonymous, and the teacher, Mr. Guilford, is unaware that this accusation has been made about him, as the general consensus is that marking him as the perpetrator will do more harm to him than good. His female colleagues are aware that he and other male teachers have a tendency to disrespect women in general. Mr. Guilford sits in the front of the meeting, blissfully unaware of his wrongdoings, while his female colleagues instinctively sit in the back of the room. Standing in front of a group of people.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll try my best to make this meeting as short and sweet as possible. I know everyone wants to head home.
Teachers and administrators sit exhausted and somewhat attentive as the male administrator begins his presentation.
This meeting is just going to serve as a short review of conduct and as a reminder of the importance of treating students and others with respect. We can sometimes run into issues where there are miscommunications that are reported to administration, so we just want to do our due diligence with some reminders.
Miscommunications? Who is miscommunicating?
We'll get into that in just a little bit, Mr. G.
Mr. Guilford huffs and relaxes back into his seat. His posture displays arrogance and a lack of interest. Male administrator begins his presentation, rushing through slides and not stopping for questions or concerns. Aside to Miss Reel.
This feels so redundant. All of this is common sense. Why are these reminders so necessary?
I know. It feels like every few months there is some miscommunication that results in another meeting where the people who need to be listening don't listen.
At what point do these meetings become superfluous, and when do the miscommunications become punishable?
Still presenting.
Now remember, when someone asks to go to the bathroom, you shouldn't question their intentions or...
Interrupting.
Hang on now. If a student is going to the bathroom every day, they're taking up to 30 minutes of my class time. That's not acceptable.
Well, Mr. Guilford, students might have something they need to take care of, especially girls.
And how is that my problem? They have 5 minutes in between classes to take care of whatever it is they need to take care of before coming to my class. I shouldn't be expected to interrupt my class for the ease of girls.
Male administrator brushes off Mr. Gilzo's tirade and moves on to the next slide. Aside to Miss Intelli.
Did that seriously just happen? He didn't even address Guilford's attack on young girls. Does he think teenage girls want to have periods? Does he think we can just flip a switch?
At this point, it doesn't even surprise me. This whole school becomes a boys' club the minute someone does something wrong. It's exhausting trying to defend ourselves and our students.
You know, I know exactly what happened regarding this miscommunication.
What? Really? How do you know?
Well, third period is my grading period, and a few days ago I was walking to the printer and I saw a girl crying walking back from the bathroom. Naturally, I stopped and asked her if everything was okay. She was hesitant to tell me, but then she said it happens every now and then with her teacher. She had bled through her tampon and had to ask to use the bathroom. She was berated by her teacher, and he forced her to tell him why she so desperately needed to go to the bathroom. She stood up in front of her whole class, humiliated that she had to pull a tampon out of her bag. She wouldn't tell me the teacher's name, but I walked slowly enough to see her walk back into Mr. Guilford's room.
You know what really sucks about all this? That it's so easy to believe. It really isn't shocking anymore.
I know, and this poor girl, she was already on her period, and then she was purposefully embarrassed, and then she was red and puffy from obviously crying. All of this could have been avoided if certain teachers were held accountable for some basic respect for human anatomy.
Yeah, and I...
Interrupted by male administrator.
Excuse me, Miss Reel, Miss Intelli. Is our meeting interrupting your gossip session? It is extremely rude to interrupt when others are addressing you.
Sorry.
Male administrator returns to presentation.
It is important to remember that no matter what, the students are still humans, and we should address them as if we were addressing a fellow person. I know how tempting it is to disregard students based on age, but we have to remember that these are young adults who are capable of mature conversations and answering questions.
Under his breath.
Yeah, they better answer my questions.
That is pretty much everything I've got for today, folks. I thank most of you for your attention and willingness to learn. Have a great evening, and we will see you tomorrow morning bright and early.
Mr. Guilford exits quickly as if he had much better places to be. The male administrator sticks up front for questions.
Thanks for telling me about that thing. I'll be sure to check in on my students more frequently and make sure they feel comfortable in my classroom. Have a great afternoon.
Exits.
No problem. I just hope that someday people will be held accountable for their actions. See you tomorrow morning.
Miss Reel approaches the male administrator.
Hey, do you have a minute? I just wanted to check in about that student I directed to you with her issue.
I spoke to her and her father. We all agreed that she should have taken care of her issue before class started. But I promised her and her father we would review some basic conduct.
That's all? She was humiliated for something she can't control, and all she gets is a basic review of conduct? She is a person who now feels unsafe and unloved in part of our school. She deserves the same decency and respect you would extend to a male with an uncontrollable condition.
Hang on. Are you accusing me of being sexist? Because that is a heavy accusation, and I wouldn't want you to be making a rash decision.
I'm not accusing you of sexism. However, I am making you aware that this little girl will still stay awake at night for years, wondering how different her life could have been if she wasn't humiliated by a teacher. She will daydream about how no one knew her as the period girl before this incident. She will sit around and hate that she's a girl because of this incident. So, I'm not saying you are sexist. I am saying actions have consequences, and actions that are wrong and preventable are inexcusable.
Miss Reel exits and briskly returns to her classroom. On her way back, she wonders if what she has said to the male administrator will get her fired. She is scared that she will be punished for calling out these bad behaviors. To herself,
What did I just do? I should have never approached him. I should have stayed out of it. I got angry, and I am not allowed to get angry. This might have made it worse. God, I wish I was oblivious. I wish I never saw anything. Sometimes I wish I didn't care.
as she walks into her classroom, there is one student seated in a desk in the dark. It is the anonymous girl who was humiliated by Mr. Guilford.
Hi, sweetheart. What are you doing in here? Don't you have practice or something?
It was canceled today because of the rain. I wasn't quite ready to go home yet. My dad is off from work today, and he is still mad I made him come into the school the other day.
Oh, no. Well, I have some papers to grade, so you can stay with me until I'm done.
Thanks. It's easy to focus when I'm here. I can get a lot more done.
As they sit in silence, Miss Reel realizes that the girl feels safer in her classroom than anywhere else in this moment. They share a few minutes of silence before the girl speaks up.
Miss Reel,
Yes?
thank you for being on my side, for protecting me.
Always. I will always do my best to make sure you and every other student feel safe in these walls.
Thank you.
End.